3 years into our marriage, everything changed. Amanda became the CEO of the company she'd been devoted to for over a decade. It was her dream job, one she had sacrificed nights, weekends, even holidays to pursue. I stood beside her at the announcement gala, smiling while reporters snapped pictures and champagne overflowed in crystal glasses. I was proud of her. God, I really was. Still am, in a way I hate to admit. Me, I work in the same field, tech, but in a much smaller, no-name company tucked in a business park nobody ever visits unless the Wi-Fi goes down. I'm the guy who fixes things quietly in the background. I never minded. My job may not change the world, but I was happy, especially with her by my side. But after Amanda took that top job, something shifted. Slowly, subtly. At first, it was little things, missed dinners, distracted glances, cold hands where there used to be warmth. She stopped asking about my day. Her laughter faded. The conversations grew shorter, colder, like every word she spoke to me was a checkbox on a to-do list. Our bedroom went quiet. Her heart followed. I kept telling myself it was stress, new role, big pressure, long hours. I tried to understand. I tried to be patient, but the distance between us grew too wide to ignore. Then came the bracelet, a delicate piece of jewelry, gold and understated, but expensive. I noticed it one night when she came home late, her wrist catching the kitchen light as she poured herself a glass of water. I'd never seen it before. Despite everything, I still loved her. Even after the lies, the coldness, the cheating, I loved Amanda. Not the version of her standing in front of me that night, detached and unrecognizable, but the woman I married. The one who once danced barefoot in our kitchen while pasta boiled over. The one who held my hand through sleepless nights and whispered dreams into the dark. So I tried. I didn't yell. I didn't break things or storm out. I did the only thing that felt honest. I sat her down and talked to her. My voice cracked as I asked her if there was anything left to save. I told her I could change, that I would fight for us. I begged her, not with pride, but with the kind of desperation that only comes when your entire world is slipping through your fingers. I said, "Tell me what I can do. Please, just tell me how to fix this." She looked at me like I was a problem she'd already solved. "I don't want to fix it," she said quietly. "I want a divorce." Just like that. No hesitation, no sadness, like it was just another decision, like choosing a different wine at dinner or canceling a subscription. And that was when it hit me. She hadn't just fallen out of love, she had left me a long time ago. Mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically, even before the affair. I had been trying to breathe life back into something she had already buried. I thought we were in a rough patch. She was already gone. I sat there in stunned silence, heart cracked wide open, and she stood up like the conversation had ended, as if that was all there was to say. She didn't look back. I stayed there a while, at the kitchen table we used to share morning coffee at, the same place we once dreamed about kids and vacations and growing old. And now it felt like a museum of a life we almost had. I didn't know what hurt more, her betrayal or the realization that she didn't think we were worth fighting for. The next morning, she didn't say good morning, didn't ask if I slept. She just stood in the hallway with a suitcase already halfway zipped, her voice flat like a stranger delivering bad news on the phone. "I'm packing up my things today," Amanda said, not even making eye contact. "You don't need to know where I'm going." There was no fight, no conversation. She'd already decided. It was like she'd rehearsed it, stripped of all emotion. "We don't have kids, so the divorce will be easy," she added, like she was talking about returning a pair of shoes. "You can have the dog. The dog. Our dog. The one we picked out together at the shelter 3 years ago when we were still us." I remember how she knelt on the cold concrete and let him lick her face while she laughed, eyes shining. "He's got your sad eyes," she said, and we named him Milo. He slept at the foot of our bed, followed her around the house, curled beside her legs when she read. And now she was handing him off like an old lamp, something she didn't want anymore. I couldn't even respond. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. What was there to say? She'd already turned the page. I was just ink smudged on the corner of a chapter she wanted to forget. She moved around the apartment with mechanical calm, folding clothes, zipping bags, grabbing toiletries from the bathroom drawer. I stood there, not knowing whether to help, stop her, or just disappear into the walls. Every time I looked at her, I tried to find the woman I loved, the one I thought I knew. But she wasn't there. Her body was, her face, her voice, but not her, not Amanda. She was so cold, so final, and I was left holding fragments of a life I didn't know how to put back together. No shouting, no tears, just silence. Like the end of a movie where the credits roll and you're not sure what you just watched, only that you wish it had ended differently. And as she walked out the door, suitcase in hand, she didn't even look back. I was alone, just me and Milo, sitting in the quiet of a place that used to be home. "It's beautiful," I said, trying to keep my voice casual. "Where'd you get it?" She hesitated, just for a second, but it was long enough to let the lies settle behind her eyes. "A gift," she said, "from the board, a congratulatory thing." I nodded, pretending to believe her, but something in my gut twisted. The board? Since when did corporate boards hand out designer jewelry like party favors? I did some digging, quietly, carefully, and what I found ripped the floor out from under me. The bracelet hadn't come from the board. It had come from him, one of her executives, the man she was sleeping with, the same man whose name kept popping up in late-night texts, the same man she once called just a colleague. When I confronted her, when I laid it all bare, the bracelet, the messages, the lies, she didn't cry, she didn't deny it, she didn't even apologize. She just stared at me with that new emptiness in her eyes and said, "It just happened. These things happen when people grow apart." No. No, they don't just happen. Not like that. Not when one person is still fighting to hold on. Not when one person is still showing up, still hoping. I wasn't insecure. I wasn't crazy. I was just the man she outgrew. Amanda felt nothing. No guilt, no shame, no sorrow for the life we built, or for the man she left behind, emotionally first, then physically. And I stood there, heart shattered in my chest, realizing that the woman I loved had become a stranger with my last name. That's the question that hung in the silence every night as I sat in the apartment alone, with the faint ticking of the clock and Milo's soft breathing as my only companions. Amanda was gone. Just gone. No calls, no messages. She blocked me from everything, phone, email, even social media. It was like I never existed. I buried myself in work. Buried might be too soft a word. I drowned in it. I took every ticket, every support call, stayed late even when no one asked me to. I told myself I was being productive, but really, I was just trying to feel useful, trying to fill the hollow space where love used to live. But no amount of code or server maintenance could distract me from the ache. One afternoon, I did something I'm not proud of. I drove to her office. I told myself I just wanted to see if she was okay. Maybe catch a glimpse. Maybe, by some miracle, she'd see me and remember. Remember us. I parked across the street from the building, the same one where I used to drop her off during our early years, kissing her forehead before she ran inside, coffee in hand and dreams in her eyes. And then I saw them, Amanda and Darren, walking out together, side by side, their shoulders brushing. They were laughing, not just smiling, laughing, the kind of laugh that comes easy when you're with someone who makes you feel alive. I didn't even have to ask. I knew at that moment she had given him everything she used to give me. Her smile, her attention, her time, maybe even her heart. She looked happy, and I felt like a ghost, watching the woman I loved live a new life I wasn't invited to. I stayed hidden in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing holding me together. I didn't cry, not right away. I just sat there, numb, hollow, as if the final thread had been cut. I watched until they disappeared into the crowd, and I realized she wasn't coming back. She didn't even look over her shoulder. Not once. And my heart broke all over again. A few weeks after I saw her with Darren, the divorce papers came in the mail. There was no letter, no note. Just cold, impersonal documents tucked inside a plain envelope with my name typed across the front like I was a stranger to her now. She had filed. It was official. The end of a marriage boiled down to checkboxes and signatures. There wasn't much I could do about it. No custody to fight over. No shared property beyond the apartment I stayed in and the dog she left behind. Amanda made it easy, or maybe she made it impossible to resist. Either way, it was done. All that was left of us now lived in old emails, fading photos, and a ghost in my chest that still whispered her name some nights. I signed the papers, and then I let go. or I started to. I kept working, kept my head down. My heart still ached, but I had learned to function through the pain. My days became routine, predictable. I showed up, I stayed late, I volunteered for the tasks nobody else wanted. Because work, at least, responded to effort, unlike love. Then, 6 months later, something changed. The owner of the company called an all-hands meeting. His tone was cautious. "We've been acquired by a much larger firm," he said. You could feel the collective tension in the room. Acquisitions usually meant layoffs, restructures, people becoming redundant. But that's not what happened. Not for me. The new company started looking at performance data, and all that quiet grinding I had been doing, the thankless overtime, the never complain, never quit attitude, it stood out. For the first time, my work wasn't invisible. They saw me. I started getting noticed, then promoted. New responsibilities came, bigger projects, a better office. I was given a team to manage. I found myself mentoring younger techs, offering guidance instead of just carrying cables and patching code. I didn't feel proud, not yet, but I felt something shift. A small voice inside me whispering, "Maybe you're not broken. Maybe you still matter." And for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like Amanda's shadow. I felt like myself again. A year later, I became a vice president. Even saying that still feels surreal. Me. The guy who used to be a quiet tech buried under other people's priorities. The guy Amanda left without even blinking. The guy who ate dinner alone with a dog at his feet and a silence in the apartment that used to be filled with laughter. I never aimed for this. Never mapped out some grand corporate climb. I didn't chase titles or politics. I worked because what else was there to do? I needed something to hold on to when everything else had slipped through my fingers. I needed routine when my heart felt shattered beyond repair. I gave everything to the job, not because I was ambitious, but because it was the only place left that didn't ask me how I was doing. It just needed me. And I could do that. I could be needed. And somewhere along the way I grew. Not louder, not flashier, just steadier, reliable, respected. The promotion came after a long meeting with people I never thought I'd be sitting beside. They talked about leadership, vision, and strategy. And then someone said, "We need someone who knows what it's like to build something from the ground up. Someone who didn't skip steps to get here." They picked me. I still remember walking back to my car that night, stunned. The city lights blurred a little through my windshield as I sat there in the dark, trying to process it. There was no one waiting at home to celebrate with me. No bottle of champagne, no dinner reservation. Just me. And Milo, wagging his tail by the door like he always did. Loyal, silent, always there. I poured myself a drink, sat by the window, and for the first time in a very long while, I didn't feel like I had been left behind. I didn't feel like someone's leftovers. I didn't feel like Amanda's ex. I felt like someone who had walked through fire and come out the other side, not untouched, not the same, but still standing. I still think of Amanda from time to time. Not every day, maybe not even every week, but when something triggers a memory, a song, or a scent, she slips into my mind like an old ghost I never quite laid to rest. I don't reach out anymore. I don't text or call. I don't ask how she's doing or where she's been, because somewhere deep down I've convinced myself she's having the best time of her life, without me. That thought stings, but it's easier to carry than hope. Then, out of nowhere, I saw her. At a conference, a sprawling, buzzing convention center filled with people exchanging ideas, shaking hands, and chasing deals. She was there, Amanda. Her presence cut through the noise like a knife. My heart clenched in a way I hadn't expected. I tried to avoid her. My eyes darted away. My steps quickened. I wanted to disappear into the crowd, pretend she was just a stranger I didn't know. But she saw me first. I felt her gaze before I saw her, sharp and certain. Then she was walking toward me, each step measured, deliberate. My breath caught. My mind raced. What was I supposed to say? How do you face someone who once held your whole world and then walked away like you were nothing? She stopped in front of me, eyes searching mine. For a moment, everything else faded, the noise, the people, the weight of the past. And then she spoke. Before I could even gather my thoughts or figure out how to respond, Amanda spoke again, quickly, almost like she was afraid I might say no. "There's a coffee shop on the 3rd floor," she said, her voice softer now, less guarded. It'd be nice to catch up. I'd really love it if we met at 3 p.m. after the break. Her words hung in the air between us, charged with something I wasn't expecting. Hope, maybe regret, or just a simple desire to reconnect. I blinked, surprised. 1,000 questions rushed through my mind, but all I could do was nod slowly. Yeah, okay, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. 3 p.m. She smiled again, a little lighter this time. Good, I'll see you then. And just like that, she turned and melted back into the crowd, leaving me standing there, heart pounding, wondering if I was ready for what that coffee would bring. When I reached the coffee shop on the third floor, there she was, already seated at a small table near the window, a soft light framing her like a spotlight on a stage. She looked up as I approached, and a genuine smile spread across her face. It was the same smile I remembered from better times, but tinged now with something fragile, like glass ready to shatter. It's good to see you, she said quietly, standing just long enough to hug me. A brief touch that carried more weight than words. The first few minutes were awkward, filled with the kind of polite small talk people use to fill uncomfortable silences. But then Amanda leaned back, eyes searching mine as if deciding how much to reveal. I'm really happy you came, she said. Honestly, I didn't expect you to, especially after how things ended between us. I nodded, unsure what to say. The wounds were still fresh, but something in her tone made me listen closer. She sighed, a sound heavy with regret and exhaustion. For about 3 months after the separation, I thought I was happy, she admitted. Like, really happy. I was with Darren, and at first everything felt exciting, new, different. I thought maybe I'd finally found something better. Her eyes dropped to her coffee, stirring it absent-mindedly. But then his true colors came out. She paused, swallowing hard. He was controlling, jealous. He started turning people at work against me. Rumors, whispers, lies. It didn't take long before the board voted me out. They said my leadership wasn't aligned with their vision anymore. Her voice cracked slightly. It was humiliating. I lost everything I'd worked so hard for. The respect, the power, the life I thought I wanted. She looked up, eyes meeting mine with a vulnerability I hadn't seen before. I pretended I was fine. I told myself I was better off without you, but losing that job, losing that version of myself, it broke me. I sat there, absorbing everything she was saying, the pride, the pain, the emptiness beneath it all. For the first time, I saw Amanda not as the woman who left me without remorse, but as someone deeply wounded, struggling to find her way through the ruins of her own choices. Amanda's eyes welled up, and for the first time, tears threatened to spill. She looked down at her hands, trembling slightly, then met my gaze with a vulnerability I hadn't seen before. I'm so sorry, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I never meant to hurt you. Leaving you, it was the biggest mistake of my life. I was so lost and so scared. I thought I could find something better, but I only lost myself. She swallowed hard, struggling to keep the tears in check. I regret leaving you every single day. I felt empty without you, like I was walking through life in pieces. The weight of her words hit me harder than I expected. Part of me wanted to hold her, to tell her it was okay, that maybe we could fix what was broken. But another part of me was guarded, still raw from the pain she caused. I took a deep breath, searching for the right words. Amanda, hearing this means a lot, but you left me in the dark. You didn't fight for us. I was here trying to hold on while you gave up. She nodded, tears now freely falling. I know, and I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was scared and selfish. But I want to make things right, if you'll let me. I looked at her, torn between the love that never fully died and the hurt that still lingered like a shadow. Maybe we need time, I said slowly, to figure out who we are now and if there's still a we. She reached across the table, her hand brushing mine. I'm willing to wait, to try. As I sat there, her hand gently brushing mine, I felt a storm inside, memories and feelings swirling, tugging me in different directions. But then somewhere deep in that chaos, a quiet clarity emerged. I realized I was fine without her. Not because I didn't still care, not because the pain had vanished, but because I had rebuilt myself from the ground up without her. I had faced the nights alone, the silence, the heartbreak, and I had survived. And most importantly, I couldn't trust her anymore. Trust isn't something you can just pick up and patch after it's been broken. It's fragile. delicate. And once shattered, it leaves cracks that never fully disappear. I pulled my hand back gently, careful not to hurt her feelings. Amanda, I said softly, looking her in the eyes, I appreciate your apology, and maybe one day, forgiveness will come. But right now I can't trust you. Not like before. Not enough to risk getting hurt again. Her face fell, but she nodded, understanding the weight of what I was saying. I need to protect myself now. I looked at Amanda one last time across the coffee table, the weight of everything between us settling heavy in my chest. I think this is goodbye, I said quietly. Her eyes searched mine, pleading for something, hope, forgiveness, maybe a second chance. But I knew in my heart I had made the right choice. She nodded slowly, a sad understanding washing over her face. Goodbye, she whispered. After that day, I saw her again at the conference a few times, always in passing, always close enough to hear the soft murmur of her voice when she tried to start a conversation. But I kept my distance. I avoided her gaze. I stepped around her path. A few months passed in the quiet aftermath of that final goodbye, and life kept moving forward in its relentless way. Then came the news. The company I worked for was acquiring another firm. To my surprise, and I won't lie, a mix of shock and something else entirely, I learned it was Amanda's company, the place where she once ruled, where she'd built her empire and then lost it. And with the restructuring that followed, I found myself in a position higher than hers. I was now her superior. It was surreal. The tables had turned in ways I never imagined. I could have let pride or bitterness consume me, but I didn't. Instead, I chose to lead with the quiet strength I'd spent years building. Every time I walked past her office, I caught glimpses of her, a shadow of that woman I once knew, navigating a new reality much like I had. There was no gloating, no coldness, just the unspoken acknowledgement that life's paths twist and turn in ways we don't expect. I eventually heard through the grapevine that Amanda and Darren had broken up. At least she'd escaped that toxic relationship, the one she'd described to me during that coffee meetup, the one that had chipped away at her confidence and reputation. In a way, I felt a flicker of relief for her. She didn't deserve to be dragged down like that. Every now and then, Amanda tries to break through the professional barrier we've built. Maybe it's a sly comment, a glance that lingers too long, or bringing up memories from the past as if to remind me of what we once had. But I shut it down immediately. I keep my tone calm but clear, no room for misunderstanding, no openings for old wounds to reopen. It's not about bitterness or anger. It's about self-respect and protecting the progress I've made. Amanda leaned casually against my desk, a smile playing on her lips. Remember that trip we took to the coast? We had so much fun. Sometimes I wonder if things could have been different. I held her gaze, keeping my voice steady. Amanda, I'm glad we had those memories. But that was then, and this is now. We've both moved on. She softened her tone, trying to reach me. Come on, don't you miss it? Us? Maybe there's still something there. I shook my head gently but firmly. I appreciate what we had, but I'm focused on where I'm going. It's better for both of us if we keep things professional. A flicker of disappointment crossed her face, but she nodded. I understand. I nodded back. Good. Let's respect that for our own sake. She might be testing the waters, searching for something lost, or trying to rewrite the story between us. But I know better now. Some chapters are meant to close, and I'm done rereading that one. The funny thing is, I never planned any kind of revenge. No schemes, no grand gestures. I realized the best revenge I could ever have was simply living my best life, rising through the ranks, building something of my own, finding peace in my work and myself. That's the real win. Because nothing hurts more than seeing someone thrive after trying to break you down. And honestly, that's exactly what I'm doing. While she's caught up in the past, I'm busy creating a future I'm proud of. A year later, I started dating again. It wasn't about replacing anything or trying to forget, just a quiet step towards something new, something hopeful. Around the same time, I heard Amanda was given a new assignment, a lateral move to another city, a different office. Coincidence or not, I haven't seen her since. And honestly, that distance feels like the clean break I needed. No awkward meetings, no lingering shadows, just space to breathe, grow, and build the life I want, on my own terms.